WNBPA board member Alicia Clark continuing to threaten a strike on the WNBA, even though many players like Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, and more have come out and said they think the deal is fine. Compromise needed to be had on both sides. They are ready to play. We want to play. We still have WNBPA board members and decision makers like Alicia Clark threatening fans online, letting it be known, oh no, we still gonna strike. We still can strike.
A board member of the WNBPA recently informed everyone on Twitter that a strike is still very much possible. Not an arena-filling player, not a person whose jersey is sold out. A board member who has the power to decide. The union just openly contradicted itself once more. Regardless of what the players who really make a difference have been saying, do you believe that the WNBPA board members who are threatening a strike are doing so for the benefit of all players, or are they defending their own positions at the expense of the players who people genuinely pay to watch? Leave a comment with your thoughts as of this now. The tweet is the most candid window into what is truly happening inside the WNBPA at the moment. So let's start there.
Alicia Clark took to Twitter to respond to someone. And I believe this young lady, she reports on WNBA as well. Here, the young lady said, watching everything that came out of Unrivaled Media today, it sounds like a strike is essentially off the table for WNBA players in these CBA negotiations. Okay, and here comes Alicia Clark. Hey, this is not accurate. A strike is still very much on the table.
Based on everything that came out of unparalleled media availability, a strike seems to be practically off the table for the players in the CBA discussions, according to a reporter following the WNBA. Reasonable observation considering that a number of players, including some of the most well-known figures in the union's own leadership structure, had been openly expressing their desire to participate, that everyone would suffer from a strike, and that the revenue share milestone represented significant advancement deserving of recognition. WNBPA board member Alicia Clark then gave a frank response. She said that the reporter's perspective was inaccurate. According to her, a strike is still a real possibility. She explained the difference between players voicing their personal ideas about not wanting to strike and the removal of the possibility to strike. In a technical sense, she is correct. Earlier in the negotiations, the players voted to approve a strike. There has been no official revocation of that authority. Therefore, regardless of what certain players have stated in interviews, the board has the authority to call a strike from a purely procedural basis.
It's crazy. The people like Alicia Clark who couldn't get nobody to come to games. And I like Alicia Clark. I'm sure she's a nice person. She's had a fine WNBA career. She's a veteran, been around a long time. But it's always the people who can't get 20 people in the gym. It's always the people who ain't selling no jerseys, who ain't moving no numbers, that's threatening this and threatening that and talking about striking and making decisions for the people that's actually the ones bringing the business in, like a Caitlin.
This is the part that should worry every player in the league who has been speaking on camera about wanting to play, because the permission they granted months ago, when things were different and the hardline stance seemed more viable, is now in the hands of board members who are using it as leverage against a membership that seems to have moved on from that position.
A job in the league for real. Like, what? Alicia Clark's almost 40. Alicia Clark is lucky to even have a job. She's trying to, that's what I'm saying. You got a lot of these old head veterans trying to collect their last bag on their way.
There is no longer a nuanced difference between the public statements made by the board and the players that IT is not a small shift in tone or emphasis. There is a basic difference over the current state of the negotiation and what should be done next. Kelsey Plum called the revenue share inclusion a significant victory and stated that a strike would be detrimental to both parties. Paige Beckers stated that she does not want to strike and that she wants to play basketball. At the USA basketball camp months ago, Caitlin Clark stated that the league must return to the floor and that both parties must make concessions. For it, she was referred to as anti-UN. During the period, the same message has been sent by a number of players throughout the league in different ways. We'd want to play. We believe an agreement can be reached. Everyone is harmed by a strike. Additionally, board member Alicia Clark stated on Twitter, the strike is still on the table. These roles are incompatible. Both of them cannot be true in the manner that they are portrayed. The players are either in agreement with the board's decision to declare a strike, or they are not. Furthermore, it is abundantly evident from the public record of the last few weeks that they are not.
Worries. I know how you report, so I was just wanting to add some clarity for you. Players expressing personal opinion on not loving the idea of a strike versus it being taken off the table are very different. I know some of the other interviews I've watched also said we're prepared and have been preparing should one be called. Appreciate you always. So she's letting it be known, hey, we us veterans want to strike. And this is what happens when you've been hoodwinked and conned by your board members. Y'all should have never gave them the authorization to strike. Y'all didn't have to give them that at that time. If y'all wanted to strike, y'all could have still talked about it whenever the time.
Throughout the entire process, one of the most persistent aspects has been the mixed messaging. Brianna Stewart, a vice president of WNBPA and an unparalleled co-founder, stated that both offers still require improvement and retain the urgency and leverage framing that implies a greater distance from a transaction. The other vice president, Kelsey Plum, effectively used the opposite tone when speaking. There has been advancement. The revenue share is actual. The worst result is a strike. These two voices from the executive committee are reading what seems to be the same proposal and creating entirely different public narratives about the current situation. The players are not helped by this misunderstanding. The league benefits from it. Adam S. Silver, who set the deadline of March 10th specifically to speed up the fissures he knew were forming beneath the surface, saw things unfold precisely as he had planned. You've already lost the leverage game when your vice presidents and board members are at odds on Twitter. It is no longer necessary for the opposing side to speculate about your own conflicts. All they have to do is read the timeline. Let's now discuss the particular aspect that makes Alicia Clark's tweet especially annoying for the players who are genuinely generating the league's revenue. The board was granted the authority to go on strike through a vote. The participant voted in December to give the board the authority to declare a strike if needed. According to the union's own statement, the vote was made with total faith and confidence in the negotiating committee. The idea was to provide the board with a strategic tool in case the discussions reached a stage when a work stoppage was actually the most effective leverage. What occurs when the membership's attitude changes, but the authorization stays the same, was not completely taken into consideration in that vote. The board retains strike permission until it is revoked. And rescinding it necessitates another vote, another structured player procedure, and another logistical round that the shortened timeline prior to March 10th makes execution exceedingly challenging. The players who have publicly expressed their desire for a deal, such as Caitlin Clark's, Paige Becker's, and Kelsey Plum's, are in the awkward position of having given their board a loaded weapon months ago and now witnessing board members point at the season while claiming that everything is still on the table. The purpose of the authorization was to use it as leverage against the league. Some board members are now using it as leverage against their own players. Additionally, the players who are most impacted by that dynamic are also the ones who stand to lose the most from a season that was canceled. Regardless of the results of the CBA, the veterans who are nearing the end of their careers have been receiving their final contracts. Not the board members, whose individual schedules and financial circumstances might not be significantly impacted by a single missed season. Young athletes in their prime earning years are the ones most impacted. The players who would benefit from the new CBA's pay hikes. The athletes whose career windows are measured in years as opposed to decades. More than any other player, Caitlin Clark is at the center of this. The league's recent expansion has been fueled by her. The WNBA paid players a revenue-sharing payment for the first time in league history. The $8 the millions generated during the 2025 season exist in large part because of Caitlin Clark's impact. Her presence fills arenas, drives television ratings, and attracts new fans to the league. When she plays, people watch. When she's absent, viewership numbers drop significantly. Because of that, the entire argument behind the new CBA revenue-sharing model depends on the league's commercial growth continuing in the same direction, and that growth is closely tied to Clark's presence and health in the league. This is why the idea of union leadership threatening a strike that could keep players off the court has raised serious concerns among fans and analysts. Many see it as a sign of deeper dysfunction within the organization. What makes the situation even more interesting is who is pushing the hardest for a strike. In many cases, the loudest voices are not the players selling out arenas or drawing the largest audiences. This reflects a deeper tension inside the union. Some players hold influence through board positions and organizational roles, while others hold influence through their market value and popularity with fans. Board members have power through position, while star players have power through the market. When those two forces collide, the market usually wins eventually, though not without creating serious conflict along the way. Ironically, the deal currently being discussed is already considered one of the most transformative in league history. The salary cap could rise from $1.5 million to nearly $5.75 million in the first year alone, representing an increase of around 280%. Maximum salaries could jump from about $249,000 to more than $1.3 million. On top of that, players would receive revenue sharing for the first time in league history, including an $8 million payment that has already been distributed. These are major gains for the players, even if they are not everything the union originally demanded. The debate over gross versus net revenue sharing remains unresolved, and the salary cap did not reach the $9 million level some players hoped for. Still, negotiations always involve compromise. What makes this situation unusual is the use of strike authorization to potentially block a deal while many players are publicly saying they simply want to play. When Caitlin Clark previously said the league needed to get back on the court in the fall, she received criticism from some voices who believed she was weakening the union's bargaining position. Yet when Paige Buchers later made a similar comment, the reaction was noticeably different. That inconsistency suggested the issue was never really the message itself, but rather who said it first, and what it implied about where the majority of players truly stand. Recently, Union board member Alicia Clark posted online clarifying that a strike is still very much on the table. While the message appeared directed at reporters, many believe it was also aimed at players who have been publicly signaling that they want a deal finalized. In other words, it served as a reminder of who currently holds the strike authorization. However, the players who granted that authorization also have the power to take it back if they choose. As the March 10th deadline approaches, pressure will only increase on both sides. Union leadership must decide whether to use that leverage, while players must decide whether a strike is truly what they want. Because at the center of this debate is a simple reality. The season is approaching, the deal appears closer than the mixed messaging suggests, and fans simply want to see the game played. And somewhere in the middle of all this discussion, Caitlin Clark is doing what she has always done, waiting to get back on the court and play basketball.